Well, yeah, that happened.
Something happened.
Yeah, nothing good.
So, boom. What's up? Travis, B-Double, Brother Bob, Smarking down. Oh, what do you... I might as well just... Yeah, I'm not wearing a fan shirt today because why would I wear anything fan-related after that travesty? I would be mad if I actually watched it. Like, I just followed on Twitter and watched YouTube clips, right?
Yep.
Like, there was no point to watch Hell in a Cell. They had 4 matches announced going into the damn thing, right?
And I mean,
they screwed Friday night. They screwed up Friday night.
Yep.
Why would you why are you watching the WWE product anymore? Can you at home explain to me why you would watch the main roster product? I understand why you would watch NXT.
Yep.
I get that, okay? So please send me messages, tweets, leave me comments because I don't get it anymore. How do you take a guy that you're trying to make Mankind 2.0? You've given him Mankind's finishing move, right? And you put him in one of the seminal matches Mankind ever had, Hell in a Cell, and it ends in a DQ.
Yep. I mean, it's just garbage. And they're trying to mitigate this. They're saying, well, it's a referee stoppage. I've seen that places.
It was garbage. That's what it was.
Yeah,
I don't care what you call it. It's garbage.
Well, the fact is when the pro wrestlers who do this for a living don't understand your finish, you're not doing a good job with your finishes. And
fix your stuff.
Yep.
And on a week, look, NXT got clobbered, and we kind of expected that by AEW's opening night. Yep. We kind of expected that. And that NXT, like, to be fair to NXT, that NXT show was basically a takeover on television.
Absolutely.
It was great. Like, NXT was great, man. Like, you can say a lot of bad things about the in-ring action in NXT is always top notch.
Yep.
All right. So, like, that show was really good. It was probably better as an overall show than AEW. The reason I liked AEW better, and we're going to talk a lot of AEW, like, we just got to get this WWE crap out of the way, right? Like, it's important news.
Yep.
The reason I liked AEW better was because of the stylistic presentation. We saw something we hadn't seen in 20 years.
Yeah.
It was just different.
I very much enjoyed the way they went with the
it was amazing.
Lack of heavy promos and a lot more vignettes. It definitely the way I like to see wrestling done. It definitely had that feel of pro wrestling from the 90s, which a lot of people
in a lot of areas. So we'll get to that. But NXT, I'm not going to bag on that because they always do a quality show.
Yep.
Until at least Vince gets his grubby little paws in there more, that show is still going to be great, right? So, but you lost. And then you take this you must have got a little bit of a look at the ratings ahead of time on Thursday, and you release this, the real winners are the fans. Congratulations, AEW.
Very passive-aggressive, too, because then they said, right after that, they said, but remember, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. I'm like, guys.
Yeah, so,
really.
All right, and credit where credit's due, they got a massive number Friday night, and they screwed the fans in that massive number.
Yeah.
Like, they kick off SmackDown on network television. It's on Fox. You have everybody and their mother and brother, and everybody but Judy Bagwell was advertised for this damn thing, right? And we'll get there. And you end up not having some of the biggest names that were advertised for the show make an appearance. Sting, backstage, not used. Taker, backstage. And Taker, who is normally as quiet as a mouse, right? Never makes no hassle. Somebody tweeted at him. It was like, Taker, where were you? We would have way rather saw you at the end than the debacle we got with Lesnar and Kofi and then Kane, right? Yep. And he replied. And he was like, all he said was, told I wasn't needed. Yeah. Like, and when Taker's talking out, you got a problem, right? Because, like, he is a locker room guy. He's a guy, when he says something, you got to listen. So Sting, Taker, Stone Cold, all not used. Yep. Allegedly, there's reports that Punk was backstage because Punk's taking this Fox commentator role for their breakdown show, their NFL Today style Fox show, and he's got a contract with Fox, and he's going to be on that show, but they had him backstage on a bus. maybe they're going to use him there. And they didn't use any of those guys. None. So, and it's not that, okay, you don't use Punk. He wasn't really advertised. Like, Fox kind of teased it, like maybe he might get used, but that was the day of the show. Yeah. But, like, Taker, Stone Cold, and Sting were all advertised they were going to be there. Okay? And you don't give the fans that, and then you give the fans a crappy Kofi squash. Right? Like, okay, all right. And I'm interested. I would be interested in Kane Lesnar, right? And people are hating on that. Oh, Kane's out of shape. No, Kane's not out of shape. Kane is not out of shape, guys. Promise.
It's not going to be long before they make him just go by his last name, because everybody calling him Kane, they already have a guy named that.
Yeah.
And that's going to be, I can already, just hearing you say Kane over and over, I'm like, man, that's going to get really confusing. They're going to be calling him just like Vasquez. Like, that's going to be
it's good.
Like,
they're going to call him Big. They're going to call he can be Big Daddy V.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. We can reboot. So, but look, like you have an opportunity to tell a really awesome story with Velasquez and Lesnar, right? Like Kane knocked his ass out in a shoot in the octagon. Brock was fighting the diverticulitis and stuff, and there's something to be said about that, whatever. But you could really tell a story here. But they're gonna ruin this at Saudi Arabia, right? Yep. They're gonna have Lesnar win and make Velasquez look bad.
Well, they're jumping into it too fast, and there's
no build.
There's one thing I have noticed about your pro athlete matches, and I mean it's happened through numerous companies. You've had things like so things that went well, and went over pretty well, like the Malone and Rodman with Hogan and DDP. That went over pretty well.
It went over, but it wasn't good. Like, let's be honest, people were into it, but it wasn't because of what happened in the ring.
But they enjoyed the match. It drew decent numbers. Some that didn't do as well, the Kevin Green, Mongo McMichaels, probably because they're both football players. There was no other wrestlers involved, and they jumped right to a match.
Yeah, and
Mojo and Gronk, they had that little feud thing that didn't really go over well. People are like, "Why is he on my TV?"
Far more have fallen short than have gone well.
Now, the ones that do well are when there's a wrestler involved. So when you had that
Bam Bam
match,
LT.
Bam Bam LT.
Bam Bam, and everybody says Bam Bam. Even LT said Bam Bam carried that match.
Ronda Rousey coming in and wrestling a wrestler and not wrestling like another MMA fighter.
Yeah, no, and she had innate, like, let's be honest, there's something different when you're talking about that MMA transition, guys who've transitioned. Because look, Cain Velasquez, like, he's had some matches now, not a lot, but like he was on Triple Mania, and he's had some lucha matches. And the dude's he's green. Like, you watch him and you can tell he's green, but he's got some talent. Like, and he's dropped out of the USADA testing pool, which means he's going all in on wrestling, right? So if you don't follow MMA, USADA is the U.S. anti-doping agency. UFC uses them for all their drug testing, and you have to be in the pool for 6 months. I believe it's 6 months before you're allowed to fight in UFC. And when you drop out of that pool, you have to get back in and be in it 6 months before you take another fight. Yep. And he dropped out of the pool, and that's not to say he's going to juice up. He might, Lincoln. Let's be honest, he might. Like, it's not unheard of wrestlers using steroids. But he dropped out of that pool. There's no reason to be in the pool if you're not going to fight.
Yep.
And it's a headache to be in the USADA testing pool. It really is. Go listen to the MMA fighters talk about, like, USADA showing up to their door at like 4 a.m. and you have to report where you are at all times, and it's a headache. It's a huge headache. So if you're not going to fight, just drop out of the pool, even if you're not doing anything wrong. And that's what it sounds like he did. He is no longer in the pool, which leads me to believe he's going all in on wrestling, because he's shown some bright spots. He's got talent. He's got to get better. He's green, but it's one of those guys, like, you see him and you're like, he's green, but God, there's talent there. There's like a lot of talent there.
Now back to what I was saying.
Yeah.
Like the situation when you have a wrestler versus a pro athlete, from another sport, that is intriguing, because you're like, all right, well, this guy, you got the wrestling fans who are diehard wrestling fans who are saying, we want to see the wrestler beat this guy up. He's coming into our sport, and we want to see him get beat up. You have your outside fans who might be a fan of, like, the other sport, who you're going to draw in and get some interest. It's good on all levels. And then You have somebody to help, work through that match as well. Now, Brock, can have good matches. We've seen him have some good ones when he wants to. But my real problem is that I don't care. I don't care to see a match. Like, they had a legitimate MMA fight. If I want to watch that, I'll go back and watch that legitimate MMA fight. If they had another legitimate MMA fight, like a rematch, okay, I could be interested in that. Do I want to see them wrestle in wrestling? No, because I know it's predetermined. I know that there's limitations to Kane because he is green. Brock had the tendency to just throw a ton of suplexes and not have any story to the match. I have no interest in seeing this as a match.
Yeah, I think that's the real problem. Like, this could have been something special, but they're forcing it in so they can put it on the Crown Jewel show and take the money and run. Like, and so it's going to be a flop. It might be better than we expect, but it's not going to be good. Can we safely say this is not going to be like a match that we're like, oh, this is great because the build's just going to be rushed. Everything about it's going to be rushed. It's going to be bad.
You have one of two outcomes. One, Brock wins and everybody's going to be pissed. Two, Kane wins and is freaking WWE champion, and now they're pushing another MMA guy as champion like they did Brock, and everybody's going to be pissed. So, I guess booked themselves into a corner with it as well.
The difference is if Kane's going all in and he's going to be there every week, I'd be better than what.
Yeah, but
like, Brock couldn't even be bothered to show up in Hell in a Cell, right?
Dude,
like,
I
didn't see him.
Like, about 40% of the WWE fan base was all pissy about Ronda Rousey too.
They were until she was showing up every week.
No, because then later when her and Becky, when that feud started, like,
that
Becky was supposed to be heel and they
that's
turned
because
on Ronda.
That was bad booking by the WWE. You don't put them together because everybody wanted Becky, right? That's a WWE mistake. That's not a Ronda problem.
I think part of the reason everybody wanted Becky is because they were tired of Charlotte and Ronda. And Ronda wasn't there long enough that they should have been tired of her. But, like,
I don't think so. I think people were just really getting into Ronda, but then they forced her into they wanted to put her in that main event at Mania. They rushed that main event. And anyway, like, we could talk about this, but let's get back to
the booking issue. But
let's get back to Hell in a Cell, because that's the culmination of all this. All this, like, you lose on Wednesday, crappy, backhanded, passive aggressive tweet on Thursday. Crap show that, like, okay, credit where credit due. The new SmackDown set looks amazing, right?
Yep.
Like, that thing is awesome. Like, it looks great.
Reminds me a lot of the old Impact set when they had the green lasers,
except bigger. It's like crazy bigger. Yeah. It's like big budget. This is like The Rock coming back, Rock Becky segment. Nobody cares about Baron Corbin, right? Like, I mean, King Corbin. Like, that was okay though. Like, it was all right. It was The Rock. He did The Rock stuff. I liked Becky kind of doing his line and The Rock laughing about it. Like, that puts Becky over, gives Becky a nice rub. Nothing wrong with that. I watched that. I didn't really watch much of that. I kind of bumped around, watch some of the highlights and stuff. And then you get the ending. Squash Kofi. His title reign meant nothing. No Sting, no Taker, no Stone Cold. Okay.
And the ratings continuously went down the entire night up until the main event, where then they got a small
and then they
bump.
spike, because I think people expected at that end
to
segment
get those people
get those guys
the whole night.
So that's what you give the fans. And then you go into Sunday night, and by all accounts, what I have seen and what I have heard about, again, I didn't watch Hell in a Cell because why would I? Why would I invest? I can follow the results. If somebody says a match is great, I can go back and watch it later.
Yep.
Why would I watch it live? Okay. And I'm kind of following on, what's going on. And all of a sudden people are tweeting and commenting and posting on social media about the red light in the main event, right?
Yep.
Like, everything's all in red. And it was trending probably, at least in my feed, 80-20 hating it. 80% hated it. 20% are like, this is cool. And then, and you said it too, like, it was earlier in the week, they had posted, how do you think Hell in a Cell is going to win, in a poll. And one of the options was disqualification. It's like, all right, somebody screwed up, right? Clearly they're not going to end Hell in a Cell, the most iconic feud blow-off match of all time, right?
And then,
in a DQ.
And then I said, well, they're obviously going
to end it in a DQ. And I'm like, well, either this is going to be, either this was a really bad mistake, or it's going to be a really bad mistake, because if you end it in a DQ, clearly you understand this is going to damage the match and the people in the match and your product as a whole. Well,
and it would make it the second year that this happened. The year before it ended in a no contest. So now you have 2 years in a row that you have a non-definitive winner in a Hell in a Cell.
You and I disagree a little bit. Like, I didn't like the no contest, but at least it was not a DQ. It was a one person couldn't continue. I don't agree with it. No, see, this is the difference. Like, you try to make it seem like, oh well, if Mankind and Undertaker didn't end in a no contest, then how could I? And I agree with that, right? I don't think it was a good idea, but at least it wasn't a DQ. This is like, and we talked about this.
I don't understand how you can't have a bigger problem with it, because you are the wrestling purist.
I have a problem with it.
You are the wrestling purist who's like, I don't want comedy and shit in my wrestling, right? You're that guy. I'm sitting here from a wrestling purist standpoint where Hell in the Cell, remember when they used to say, there must be a winner.
Yeah.
Right? That's Hell in the Cell. That match with there must be a winner to this match.
But on a scale, like, this is what I said, Bob. On a scale
of
hot garbage to dumpster fire, like, hot garbage was last year. This is dumpster fire. Like, they're both bad. Like, I'm not condoning one. I'm just saying last year wasn't as bad as this year, right? It's like ending a no disqual. Like, we talked about things that could be worse. Having the Royal Rumble end with a pinfall. Like, that would be pretty comparable. Like, you'd be like, wait, what the hell just happened?
Having Royal Rumble win in a count out.
Have Royal Rumble end in a count out. Stuff that just does it. Having a
now we're giving them ideas, so we really
having a no disqualification match end in a disqualification. Yeah. Like, and I understand Hell in a Cell is a no disqualification, or supposed to be a no disqualification. But, like, it would be basically whatever the match is, the match stipulation is, having it end with that stipulate, right? Like it, the no DQ match end in a DQ. Having like we saw some of the like the strap matches and stuff with the stoplights on a pole, and that was a few years ago now at this point. But it's stuff like that. It's just typical classic WWE crap booking, right? Yeah. So apparently we weren't the only ones that felt this way, right?
Dude, I just want to say, you have to remember, you can't have a dumpster fire unless you start with hot garbage. So
you're right.
So
that's true.
It's
a progression. No, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not defending what happened last year. I'm just saying at least it's a bad argument. I don't agree with the argument, but at least there was kind of an argument where you're like, well, the ref stopped it to protect the athlete, and you do see that like in real combat sports. At least I don't agree with it. I don't like it. I'm not condoning it, but at least you have some sort of whiff. You can kind of swing at me with an argument that I can say I don't agree with you, but at least there's no argument for this. Is this from a booking standpoint, is this the worst ending to a main event to a pay-per-view ever?
It's pretty bad.
Like this is
Survivor Series comes to mind though.
But I mean, this is for a title, right? Like
I'm saying Montreal, dude, Montreal. Montreal comes to mind immediately.
Well,
that I'm pretty sure that's still the worst.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if I don't know if it's worse.
Like, piss off half your fan base. Check.
Well, they did that. They were chanting refund. And AEW
promote your another company you're going up against.
Yes.
Did that in both of them.
Yep.
But end up with a documentary about it. Like, I don't know if
we don't know.
That.
We got time will tell.
Yeah,
like,
I mean it's one of the worst.
This is one of the worst, right? This ranks up in terms of like all-time bad pay-per-view booking. This ranks up with like what Halloween Havoc, Tower of Doom, right? Like it's there. It ranks up there with like Jarrett Hogan, right? And Vince Russo coming out. Like some Again, we called this almost a year ago. The end of 2018, early 2019. You can go back. We have an entire show where we talked about the parallels of WWE late 2018, early 2019, WCW 2000. And we broke it down. And it just continues to get more and more true. And now we're not the only ones saying this. Like all the newsmakers like Meltzer and Alvarez and Wade Keller and all the guys that have huge shows and huge followings, they're saying the same thing we were saying a year ago.
And at that time, like we were taking flack from people online. Oh, it's not
that bad.
Oh,
we lived through it. I mean, I sat there and watched it. Like I remember those pay-per-views. They were atrocious. We're there. We were there, like Raw, and like I said back then.
The only difference is the current talent level in WWE is beyond that of WCW at the time.
Truth.
But I mean, the argument that WWE has like a bad talent, and I'm like, I think it's comparable. Like if you look at AEW talent, Impact talent, NXT talent, WWE talent, I think they all have comparable talent level. I think NXT is allowed to do more, and NXT is going to be, or AEW is going to be allowed to do more. But I mean, you got AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, in WWE. You got
if the main WWE roster was allowed to have AEW or even better New Japan style matches, the best wrestling in the world would be in WWE. Hands down. You can't argue that, and it's a big if because Vince doesn't give two poops about work rate. Like we've learned that from the people leaving the company, and Moxley talked about it in his shoot interviews. Vince doesn't care. He does not care, and he doesn't like. This is a 70-something-year-old man that's out of touch with the day's product. People, the hardcore fans, not even the dedicated fans, not even the hardcore fans, but the study fans. They want some work rate. Like that's kind of the thing. They go and see something and they're like, well, you get the same match in WWE every week. And that's why it's not exciting. Well, it's not the performer's fault. It's because they want the same format. It's the reason that Raw isn't entertaining. It's the same format week in and week out. And they pooped the bed with Hell in a Cell. We're not the only one. Clearly, Bob, you've got this video pulled up. I don't know what you're doing with it. You want us to watch this?
Yeah, you have not seen
I have not seen this. This is the Hell in a Cell WWE watch along. So this is people that WWE got together that are, WWE people, and they watched the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And God bless, apparently I'm going to love Sean Waltman, right? Yeah. Like I already like Sean Waltman, but let's go ahead and watch this. Like, and you're going to do some magic on the screen, right?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, and does he want to look in the mirror as the Universal Champion or without it?
Don't do it, Seth.
Oh. There's a sledgehammer shot.
Wait, what? Interesting.
No, it's not.
Come on.
DQ?
Seth got DQ'd. Can you get DQ'd?
But he stopped the match. It's got to be.
All right.
He's still the champ.
You may not ask me back for another one of these, but how the hell do you get DQ'd now?
Did he get DQ'd?
Frickin' Seth.
I don't know if he got DQ'd.
I mean,
they're raising the cell now, so.
The referee may just called it. He can call stoppage, right?
Too much for.
Seth is unglued right now.
The fans are not happy.
Yes.
He's unglued.
I will say the referee is the one who's able to gauge.
He can call stoppage.
If someone's
Thank you,
healthy enough
X-Pac.
to
Save us,
continue the
Sean.
match, so maybe that's what's going on right now.
No DQ announcement. I mean,
What happened? Why'd they stop it?
Well, the Fiend hasn't moved
Referee
at
just-
all.
He hasn't moved, that's
all.
true.
He's just like not moving.
Seth didn't go for the pin after the toolbox. Maybe he could have been done 5 minutes ago.
Why was?
I don't know.
Why did the sledgehammer disqualify him?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, Natty, why did the sledgehammer disqualify him? Why don't you ask Vince? Like, walk back to Gorilla and ask him. Because that was stupid.
So you have a WWE Hall of Famer and a multi-generational, iconic family member who grew up in the business. Both
they can't understand the booking.
Yeah,
they don't get the booking. They that all right. I think that says it all, man. Let's move on from this hot garbage dumpster fire.
God, it was
terrible. I'm not watching Raw tonight.
No.
I haven't watched WWE in months, man. That's why kind of content's been sporadic, but we got content to talk about now. And why are we wasting time? I mean, we have to cover WWE when they do something stupid, right? Like, and they're doing a lot of stupid.
So I have not one to tell anybody they need to choose between two companies. You guys can watch whatever you want to watch. I am one to tell you that if you're upset with the product,
don't watch it.
If after this. If you were upset about the end of Hell in a Cell, do not tune into Raw. Give Raw their lowest rating ever. Give them the lowest rating they possibly could have. And, if you're going to DVR it, DVR it. You can watch that shit later then. Fine. give them that Nielsen rating as low as it possibly can go, because WWE needs to have a wake-up call. The only thing that's going to do anything is if people legitimately just stop watching. And they've been on life support for a couple years now, and everybody keeps going back. They throw out a Hulk Hogan or a Rock or a Stone Cold, and people are coming back. Oh, gotta go see The Rock. What's going to happen with Austin? Not a damn thing ever happens with them because they're not going to wrestle, and we're right back to where we're at the day before.
They did leak the rumor that apparently Edge is cleared to wrestle again.
Yeah, I heard that.
Saudi money.
Yep.
Stone Cold may wrestle for Saudi money. That
Maybe.
Saudi money is motivating. I can't blame him. Like
But
as much
it's not going to do anything for the week-to-week television.
No,
Edge might.
as conflicted as I am, like I don't watch those shows.
Yep.
Even when we were watching the product, we're super anti Saudi Arabia here, right? Until they get their stuff together, you can't support a murderous dictator like MBS. You just can't. Anyway, I'm hard pressed to tell guys that you're bad people when you're getting offered six figures.
Yeah.
Like good 6-figure paydays for 15 minutes of work.
Yep.
Even rich guys like Stone Cold's got a lot of money, right? He's been pretty smart with his money, it seems like. Edge, I'm assuming Edge is pretty good with his money too. He's done acting gigs and stuff. But look, man, who am I to tell somebody turn down a 6-figure pay? Like my morals would kind of go out the window too if I got offered a 6-figure payday to go to Saudi Arabia. Like I can't blame guys for taking that kind of money.
Even beyond that, for some of them, not necessarily Undertaker, but like for some of the other guys, getting just that one last match, having and being able to do it and in front of a crowd, and the fact that it seems like WWE still has enough sense in them to understand that, if we put on this show in the US and put a bunch of wrestlers who don't wrestle anymore and give them 10-15 minute matches where they hit 3 moves and they don't take any bumps, fans are going to crap all over it, and that's why they put it on.
Yeah, put it on over there.
So I mean, I this is the one opportunity some of these guys are going to get to have another match in WWE.
I'm not if everything's relative. If WWE, let's say I was an employee at WWE, they came to me and they were like, "Hey, we'll pay $2,000 to do." No, I'm not going to Saudi Arabia, right?
Yep.
If I'm Cena and they're like, "Hey, we'll give you a 5-figure payday," I'm probably still turning down a 5. You're talking a 6-figure payday. It's hard to turn that down, that financial security down, right? You want to do the right thing, but it's like, God, that's a 6-figure payday. And especially guys who've been out of the business a while, some of the legends. I can't, there was rumors that Mick was going to take Mick and Taker were going to do a match for a 6-figure payday each over there, like a 15-minute Hell in a Cell.
That hasn't happened yet.
Thank God it hasn't, but
now
6 figures is a lot of money even for wrestlers.
Absolutely.
That's for a single match. That's a lot of money. That's a big payday.
But back to what I was saying as far as getting that one last match type thing. If you're a guy and you're looking for just that opportunity to have one last match on a pay-per-view and do something fun, man, you guys go ahead and hit up Warrior Wrestling. They've been a great job bringing in guys. Mick was just there, and he did that little spot with Frank the Clown. They're gonna have Minoru Suzuki coming in and Kurt Angle.
Ooh, we're gonna have to go, Bob.
Absolutely,
we're gonna have to go. Minoru might be leaving New Japan.
Yep.
Oh man, we'll get let's talk about. You said fun and good stuff. Let's talk about fun and good stuff. Let's talk about AEW Dynamite.
Yes,
because there's a lot of good. Not all. It wasn't great. Very good first outing, right?
Sure was, man. There's the complaints I have are so few and far between. And something I definitely want to touch on right now before we get any further, before I forget to touch on this or we run out of time. One thing that I found while watching AEW. So I watched Smackdown. I watched NXT after I recorded it, and then I watched AEW live. Something I found with AEW I didn't find with either of the other two. The other two, there was stuff I fast forwarded through. There was stuff I wasn't paying attention to. I got distracted and was doing other things. I was having a hard time just staying up to date with Twitter while watching AEW. I wasn't. I was like, I'm completely into this match. I'm completely into this presentation. I am. when they didn't have the general commercial breaks, they had the dual screen.
Yeah.
So even during commercial breaks, I was having a hard time live tweeting anything because I was just so into the product, which is something I haven't had even like the NXT takeovers and stuff, like when the stuff that I've watched on TV,
So
even the good stuff.
I think some of
been
that's
hard.
just the fact that we don't know what the format was. It's for a show.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out the format. You don't know what's coming. You don't know what to expect. So it's pulling your attention there to begin with, right? And they kicked off the show. Probably the biggest mistake that I saw all night was the crowd pan, and there were some empty seats. People, the haters were like, there's still tickets on the after. Yeah, the secondary market bought up a lot of tickets, and people weren't willing to pay a 200% markup to go. But let's be honest, that crowd in DC was bigger than a lot of Raw crowds have been, and definitely bigger than SmackDown crowds have been, with the exception of the SmackDown crowd this week.
Well, Wade Keller had Tony Khan on, and they were talking about the ticket sales for the first show.
Yeah.
And Tony Khan said that it outsold any WCW pay-per-view from the last year and a half of WCW.
Okay.
Like after the Hogan Jeff Jarrett moment, anything after that, it outsold all of those.
So look, I mean, there were at least 12,000 people in that building.
Yeah,
11,500, 12,000. I know what sellout was like 16, 15, something, 14.5, I think is what JR announced. Whatever. I mean, there was at least 11 in that building. At least, even with the empty. And that camera shot, though, doesn't do you any favors because it gives ammo to the haters.
Exactly.
But that was the biggest thing I saw, mistake wise. I was like, man, that's a bad look. Don't shoot that, right? Don't flip over there.
Well, I mean, most of your production crews used to shooting the Impact Zone. I mean, they brought in all the
and they got to get used to doing this. But it was there were Head and Shoulder things in this. There was no comedy, zero comedy.
Though you're gonna be disappointed to know that they did have a Orange Cassidy in a match, the Dark match.
Good, I don't have to watch it.
And he did his hands in pockets thing. And
did he get his ass kicked?
No, and it looked like the fans popped crazy over him, and there were people cosplaying him in the crowd.
You know what? If they do that for the hardcores and just leave it on AEW Dark, which has been announced, it's going to be a YouTube series. I'm fine with that, man.
Well, it sounds like he's teamed up with Best Friends as a manager type guy.
Don't put it on TV. Well, if he's managing, maybe. Again, I didn't. When they used him, I didn't hate the way they used him with the Best Friends. He came in, just did the dive.
Yep.
He didn't do the fake kicks, right, and all this crap. So I was like, you know what? I was pleasantly surprised. I was okay with it.
Yeah.
Keep him on dark matches. If he's going to be in a manager role or something with Best Friends, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not because there's a lot of good stuff we got to talk about. They kick right off. Your Booth, JR, Shivani together again, and Excalibur. Excalibur needs to shut the F up.
Now, funny you should say that because I seen a number of people saying that they felt that Shivani and Ross weren't letting Excalibur get his stuff in, including Wade Keller. And they were like, and Wade even went to the point of saying, I would hope that Jim and Tony are, know that they're big enough names that they can give that time to somebody else and not have to monopolize
all they
it.
did was give him time. I was like, God, Excalibur, let the legendary voices call something for a minute. Yeah. And I'm not saying he shouldn't talk at all, but that's all. He was just and I'm like, dude, you're young. You're going to be there a while. You're with two. I think they're putting you here because they see Excalibur's good. I don't want to bury Excalibur. I like him, but I'm like, God, dude, you don't have to force your shit in.
Yep.
And that felt like that's what he was doing, is forcing his shit in. All right, we've got to conflate. Let him. No, did they bury him a couple times? Yeah, they absolutely buried. They were like, dude, when he went the social media comment he made, the vlog comment, and they buried him, and I was laughing.
It set JR up so good for that vlog. Can you even say that on TV? I'm like, oh my god, that's funny. He feels like he's in that role that where Michael Cole joined JR and King.
Yeah,
he was awkward. And
well,
when Coach joined, he was awkward.
We'll see.
We'll
see. I don't. But I like Excalibur. I think he's talented. I think, and And Tony Schiavone sounds better now than he did 20
yeah.
years ago.
He sounds like he's enjoying it again. Like,
Yeah.
remember he when he was working
It was
WCW,
bad.
It was not.
It was
good.
not pleasant. So we get right out the gate, no promo. We get a video package.
Yeah.
Cody, Sammy Guevara.
Yep.
The first match sets up the first match. It was a 4 or 5 minute promo package. Clean in and out. Cody comes out looking good. Brandy looking great. And then they introduce Guevara. Obviously, he said, the best ever in that stupid panda thing. It makes you hate him. And it's like, you're 180, which is okay, like whatever, but you're 180 and you're wearing a panda thing. You're not the best, and you're like 24 or whatever. You're not the best ever. It makes you want to hate him, right? Like, I like it.
I love the panda thing because it always makes me think of the whole WWF WWE lawsuit thing that they had.
Oh God, the World Wildlife Federation,
and then all the T-shirts that came out of the panda bear smacking somebody with a chair.
But I don't hate it. I hate it, but it's not go away heat. It's like I don't like it. I want to see him get beat down, right? They have a good match. I really enjoyed the match. It looked like there was a little bit of nerves being the first match.
Yeah.
Like, it took them a minute to get into the match, but they did give those guys, in fact, they maybe went a minute too long. Like, we saw a match end on a small package.
Oh,
it's crazy. When was the last time you saw a match end on a small package?
Yeah, and not only not finish on a finisher, but at the same time not have multiple finishers.
Yeah,
that's
he
how
did. He kicked out a disaster kick, which is technically not Cody's finisher.
Yep.
It's a signature.
Yep.
And this is one of those. I hope AEW tries to protect finishers way more.
Yeah.
And we don't see kickouts of finishers over and over again, because going back, I don't want to go too far back to Hell in a Cell, but they buried the curb stomp, right?
And I think the one outlier to that would be the Young Bucks, because I don't think the Young Bucks really have a finisher. They have a ton of signature moves. So,
I don't know, Meltzer. It looks like Meltzer Driver is going to be their finisher, because they
closest.
set up for that, and Jericho hit and we'll get there. Jericho hitting the code breaker and breaking that up.
Yep.
It kind of, they protected it, right?
But
it looks like the Meltzer.
It
looks like
the
right
matches with cease and desist. They've
right.
Well,
they might have two finishers. It might be,
yeah.
but I think because cease and desist, it's. You got both guys in the ring, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if you're going to see that as much. It looks like Meltzer Driver is going to be the finisher because they protected that with the Jericho jump in, interference code breaker. Anyway, I really like this Cody Guevara match, and it set up further in the show, which made me like the match in hindsight even more.
Now, a lot of people complained about the callback in the show, and I really enjoyed that stuff. Like, a lot of people were like, we didn't need to see Sammy after the match, kick Cody, and then Jericho come out, and then later see Jericho out there again with Cody and them. Like, you could have just did it all in one shot. And I'm like,
Cody,
I really like
Cody wins the match, cinches up, small pad. Like, Guevara misses a high risk move. Shocking, a high risk move fails, and there's risk involved in it, and the guy loses the match. Oh my God! It was shocking. Like, that's what I loved about it. And then Jericho comes out and beats Cody all over the arena, right?
Yep.
Like, and it is exerting his, dominance as champion. But you're like, okay, you don't think much of it, right? Like, Guevara kind of distracted, but you're like, well, you don't think Guevara, it wasn't obvious and blatant that Guevara and Jericho were in league at this point, right? Exactly. It was very much okay, it's just Guevara being a heel and Jericho being opportunistic. Beats the hell out of Cody. And that's all great. I loved it. They did the split screen. It kept you, like, I was trying to see what was going on, but it kept me there for the commercials, which was good. So you get into the next match. Here's where you get your promo, right? MJF, Cutler comes out to the ring.
MJF cuts a promo on his way
to the ring before a match.
No, top of the ramp. Wait, 15 minutes of him cutting a promo and then go into a match.
MJF's promo is great. He's one of the best promos in the business today.
Yep.
He's got real heat, as much real heat as anybody can have today. A submission win. And Cutler's going to be an underneath guy. That's going to be his place. It'll give you something special when he does get a win here and there against other guys. Maybe you can develop him. There's something there. If not, you again, wins and losses matter. Everyone's win-loss record as a single and as a tag team were displayed as they were coming out to the ring, and that matters. Wins and losses matter. So it was a quick match. It was an enhancement match. We had, it was exactly what it was meant to be. Get in, get out, get MJF over further as a heel, and establish him as a winner.
Yep.
What can you say to that? It was perfect.
Yeah, I thought it was done extremely well. Now, this is where we have a little bit of a problem. So, what was next?
Kevin Smith, Jason Mewes. Look, everybody loves Jay and Silent Bob. Right? Well, not everybody, but we do.
Love Kevin Smith.
I understand why they did it. Like, it's celebrities. They have a big movie coming out. Jericho's in the movie.
I believe that movie is tied in with Warner Brother too, which is then
there's a lot of
TNT.
tie-ins.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tie-ins.
Absolutely.
Putting a celebrity there in the front row, and they're actual fans.
Yeah.
And Jay's dig was pretty funny. Well, you can't even win a match.
Yeah.
That's funny. But then, like, Private Party comes out, like, and doesn't really do anything. Gives them a beer, I guess, and then, like, gets escorted away. And I know it's setting up the tag team tournament. Like, that's where we're going. But that segment kind of fell flat.
Mm-hmm.
It was clunky. It wasn't terrible, but it was clunky, right? It was very jerky and it didn't flow.
Mm-hmm. And that's like I mentioned to you when we talked about it before, this is where WWE has a advantage where they have writers who wrote Hollywood feature film type stuff, because they can write for celebrities and know what sounds good coming out from the celebrity, know how to write for a wrestler interacting with that celebrity. So I mean,
Scorpio Sky has a great Obama impression. We learned that.
Absolutely.
And so we get a promo with SCU talking and Scorpio Sky doing Obama, hilarious, in front of the Capitol, great. And then you get him out on stage for an extended interview. And at this point, I was realizing there's actually quite a bit of talking going on in these last couple of segments, but because it was formatted different, it wasn't bad. I didn't mind.
I found that, so they did the commercial break, then they did MJF talking down the ring, and then they did commercial break, Jay and Silent Bob, and then they did the SCU on the ring. I'm like, there's a lot of not wrestling going on in one section. Not necessarily that there's just too many promos in one section, but just like with the combination of the promos and then the commercial breaks and stuff.
The big thing is if they don't do that every week, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
And because it was the first time and because it was a different order than what we're used to and conditioned with WWE, I don't think anybody really minded it and noticed. I don't think it was as noticeable as when WWE goes into a 20-minute non-wrestling segment and you get SU at the top of the ramp doing an interview, and then the Lucha Brothers come out, and you get a classic pull apart, and there's security, and they actually get pulled apart. It's not the other wrestlers coming out to pull them apart as much. It's like backstage people. I liked that a lot. So
boys from Atlas Security.
Yeah, Atlas Security.
Love those guys.
So women's championship match.
Yeah.
I was really worried about this. No, I'm still not sold on Nyla Rose.
Mm-hmm.
I think she performed far better than I expected in a singles match.
I really enjoyed the match. I think there were some spots that were not great because
she's green, man. She's green.
But I think overall I was more interested and enjoyed that match more than I did the women's title match over on NXT.
You might not be wrong.
I watched both, and I was like, man, I mean, and at the end towards the end of the match, like people were like tweeting out like, this match and a ton of fire
and it popped the crowd. It popped the crowd having the underdog babyface win.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna do the promo. Nyla comes in, gets her heat back.
Yep.
And we move on. I didn't hate the match. I'm still not sold on her.
Weird way to introduce Kenny to your television audience.
Well, and I think the announcers need to do a better job of explaining that Kenny.
I think they did a fine job explaining that Kenny was training her and stuff, because they mentioned it numerous times in the match, and that he
they need to explain that Kenny's also the EVP that's in charge of the women's division.
Yeah,
and because that's something that was covered in the post scrum, but they need to cover that on TV.
Yeah,
not awful. Again, it wasn't bad. I don't want to say it was bad. The match was fine. It was better than I expected. The unexpected ending, the surprise shock finish, and now you can have Nyla come back and get her heat back. I think you're going to be okay. Britt Baker was terrible on commentary.
Now, see, that's what I would have preferred had, instead of Kenny coming down, have Britt come down, make that save, and then have Britt take the championship, hold it up. Well,
I mean,
and then set up the future for
because
those two.
she brought nothing on commentary.
Yeah, nothing at all.
And I think that was nerves. I don't want to bury her, but like she just didn't bring anything. So it didn't.
There's also the problem if you got too many people out there commentary when you.
Yeah, that four people's a lot of people. So
I think that's when you need to have that's when you got to have one or two of the regular commentators sit out.
Pac and Hangman.
Pac and Hangman was.
Pac's gonna be champion. Like he's gonna they're putting him over hard. They've got some plans for him.
Though all the marks out online were like, of course Pac does a match, has to go over. Pac always has to go over.
Like they're making him look. They're making Pac look strong. Yeah. But Paige didn't real like he
Paige
went for a high risk move.
Yep.
He went for the buckshot lariat. It was countered, whatever, this, that. It ended up Black Arrow on the back into the Brutalizer into, Earl calling the match.
Yep.
It was a great match. And I think people were surprised to see, like, Pac's they're putting him over strong, right? Like, I don't know who he's going to end up facing long term. I don't know what they're going to do. And that's the exciting part. We don't know exactly what's going to happen.
There's so much exciting stuff. Like, you can't.
But that was a great match, too. It was it was really good.
Yep.
Like, what do you. And then the main event, man. Good Lord. The end of that match, like you get the end, right? Well, so the only problem, this is the other problem I had with the show. You got to bump the official when Moxley comes out. Bump him, distract him, whatever.
Right, we should start though at the start of the match here.
Well, we're running low on time, so get through it quick.
One thing that's really interesting, we had our first full commercial break where they didn't do the screen and screen.
No screen.
And the cool thing about that is, coming from people who were there live, it sounds like the Bucks really kept them involved. Talking about how exciting it was. This is the first show and how much they want to do other stuff, and really kept everybody involved.
Main event,
something that doesn't happen in most WWE.
The main event's the Elite versus Jericho, Santana Ortiz.
Yes.
And pretty early on in that match, Kenny's in, gets blindsided by Moxley. Okay, the ref doesn't take a bump. He's not distracted. Doesn't disqualify anybody. Lets it go. They fight, and this is why I didn't completely hate it, because Moxley wasn't there to help Santana Ortiz and Jericho. He was there to attack Omega, and he drug him out of the ring. They fought the way to the back, Death Rider through the table. I thought that. The VIP area, if you're going to do a VIP area, make it look like a VIP area, guys. Make it look good for TV. That's a criticism.
I don't know. That's what the VIP area looked like for the actual shows I went to.
All right. Well, make your VIP area better.
That was
guys.
their legit VIP area.
So, all right. See, that makes me feel a little better. But
it makes me feel pretty bad for the people who dropped $700.
That's true too. But so he gets Death Rider through the glass table. That looked great. Sets up that rivalry again. Now it's 3-on-2. It's Jericho, Santana Ortiz versus the Bucks, right? And the Bucks are fighting from underneath, and they're doing their stuff. And Santana Ortiz are awesome. These are guys that are going to be stars. Absolutely. They are going to be stars. Like they were down in. They were already stars in Impact, but now they're getting exposed to a wider audience. They're good, man. And Jericho's Jericho, and the Bucks are the Bucks, right?
Yep.
So you get this great 2-on-3 underdog match, and it looks like the Bucks are going to win. They set up for the Meltzer driver, and Jericho runs in from the side, code breaker, and you get the finish. The Bucks lose, and now it's time for the heels to get more heat, and they're beating on the Bucks, and they're beating on the Bucks, and they're beating. Well, Cody wants a little revenge, right?
Yep.
Flies out to the ring. Cody's coming in for the save. When was the last time you had faces and heels like doing this kind of shit? Long time, right? Like, and where it made sense.
Yep.
Where it just wasn't arbitrary, like send everybody to the ring.
Yeah. Cody
hits the ring, all kinds of fire, gets overwhelmed, right? Gets overwhelmed. Guevara comes out and low blows him again.
Yep.
And it's like now he's overwhelmed. He's fighting from underneath, and you're like, well, why? Okay, Guevara. Wait a minute. Guevara's really helping these guys. It's not just him getting revenge on Cody. There's something up here, right? And then you go from that. Dustin hits the ring, gonna save his brother, right?
Yep.
I don't know why Dustin.
Nobody really expected.
That was a huge pop.
Yeah,
it was a huge pop. Dustin comes out fired up again, right? Crazy fighting back, and then you get your big surprise. Jake Hager hits the ring and street clothes. I love the street clothes. Wasn't there in his gear.
There were people who didn't realize, like there were people who were at the show who didn't realize who that was. They were like they just said he looked bigger, and like they didn't realize it was freaking
Jake Hager,
Hager.
Jack Swagger.
Yep.
And he hits the ring, and he looks great. And this is where a WWE guy is going to excel. Like, he is the quintessential WWE guy. So 6'5", 260, right? And he's legit 6'5". He's a legit 260. He's going to be bigger than everybody else. Perfect heater monster guy for Jericho. And what we are learning is a new heel faction stable, and absolutely destroys Dustin, puts him through the table, works everybody, and they work Cody some more, and then they end where we learn that Jericho has assembled this stable of heels, and they're going to do some damage. Well, I'm all in. I'm watching, because I haven't seen a good heel stable in a while.
And,
and it totally mitigates Guevara's loss at the beginning of the show, because it elevates him standing next to Jericho, standing next to Hager, standing next to Santana Ortiz. This is a young guy on a come up who's going to be, he's going to be an underneath guy in a veteran faction. Santana Ortiz are going to challenge for the titles. Jericho's already the champion, and you've got a built-in. You telling me you don't want to see Dustin Rhodes, Jake Hager? That match that'll be a fire match, dude. And yeah, it'll be more of a WWE style match, but I think given some leeway, we're going to see something special out of Hager. He's a special athlete. Absolutely. He's a real fighter. They can cross promote with Bellator, and Bellator's not as big as UFC, but it's still a big deal. Real exciting stuff, man.
Yep.
Overall,
and back to like we were saying about not knowing what's going to happen.
No clue.
So if you were thinking Jericho was going to start a stable, Sammy Guevara, really? Wouldn't you have thought Sean Spears would have been the guy they would have put in there?
It's Sean Spears. I'm like, all right, if you were asking me, Jericho's starting a stable, it's going to have a tag team and two other guys, right? It's going to be Jericho. It's probably going to be Jericho and I honestly don't know. It'd be like Jericho. I don't even know who the tag team would be. Revival, if you could get them.
It would,
right?
Well, I would have thought probably Santana and Ortiz, just because what we've seen them attack the Bucks, and the only other they're the real heel team. It's them or the.
I was kind of think they were going to be kind of guns for hire type thing. Like they were gonna, just be general, the general.
Like the APA?
Well, yeah, kind of like that. Except they're there to do some damage. They're heels. They're gonna help the other heels. But I thought they were gonna be kind of on their own. I didn't think that they necessarily fit a Jericho faction. Sam Guevara, no way. And Jake Hager, it leaked earlier in the day that he was there. It did, but. He's been signed apparently for months.
Yeah,
and it just leaked that day. Somebody saw him and leaked it, and it's like, okay, he's there, but is he coming out face? Because at first I thought he was going to come out and make the save.
Yep, and then it was Cody, and then after that you're like, oh well, this is where Jack Hager, and I seen people tweeting it like, Joe, Jake Hager's coming. Jake Hager's coming. And then nope, Goldust.
No, he's heel.
Like, well, wait, what?
And he's with Jericho.
Yep,
that's a great finish, man. And it felt for me. Living through Monday Night Wars, it felt like Nitro circa 96, 97. NWO Nitro. And so the difference is people, and this is a criticism, could be a criticism. We'll see where they go with it. It felt really good when WCW started doing that. There was a definitive end to the match, and then there was schmaz afterwards. Yeah. Where they got in trouble was when
they started having
schmazes
in the middle
of the match or before the ending. And there were schmazes every week.
Yeah.
If you did it when they were doing it once a month, once every 6 weeks, there were some extracurriculars, like people would come out. It was new and fresh, and even that would be too much today.
Though it did make that Goldberg win over Hogan like one of the biggest wins in wrestling history because for months and months they kept interfering in that main event when Hogan would have a match and it wouldn't be a definitive win.
It
finally got
again,
Luger
but there was a payoff for it. There was a payoff for it. So it wasn't again. Don't overuse this.
Yep.
But this is something that WWE fails at epically, and they haven't done in years. They haven't even tried to really do it in ages.
They draw the line at 3-man factions for some reason.
Why would you show them how to do factions? You've got guys who were part of the Bullet Club, one of the most successful factions of the last 20 years.
You got 5 Bullet Club guys on your roster, and you're
like
not having them as a group. You're only putting 3 of them together. Why?
Doesn't make any sense.
2 of them are going to feud, and the other 3 are going to be in
Yeah.
a group. Wait, what?
So look, man, I thoroughly enjoyed AEW.
Me
Like
too.
they got room to grow. There's
Yep.
room to improve. It wasn't the best show of the week. I still think as a pure in-ring product, NXT was better, bell to bell.
I thought AEW as a wrestling show was better.
That's true.
Yep.
As
I think-
as a
I
wrestling
think-
show, it was the.
I
I
think
said
as a highlight reel, NXT was
No,
really good.
it,
but
if I were only watching what happened in the ring, NXT was better. As a wrestling show, a 2-hour wrestling show, and that's another thing. It was an easy watch. It was so simple to watch that show.
I thought there were matches on NXT that weren't good. I
I-
thought the Maya Yim match against
Yeah, okay.
against,
I liked all the matches. I thought they were all. I thought
was
comparably.
underwhelming.
But again, I'm not. This is not a. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you. Okay, I can totally agree and say how somebody would prefer AEW
And
as
I
a show.
And I watched them both,
I'm agreeing with you in terms of an entire show, as an entire show, front to back, presented as a wrestling product. AEW really impressed me. They buried a lot of the stuff I was worried about. And there again, there's room to grow. So I'm gonna be tuning in, and we've got some content now. So now we can maybe start doing again. It's hard to do a weekly show when you're not watching WWE beyond the highlights because you don't want to support their trash product.
Absolutely.
It's just hard. So
And one thing I want to touch on real quick before we go, I think the one thing missing from AEW that I really hope they go to is more of that opening like your professional sports teams do and like WWE used to do on their pay-per-views where they kind of highlight the city they're at, they show the crowd outside, and then they talk about like the history of that city, why that wrestling's big there, and what happened there previously when they were there, and kind of give that big sport feel at this opening of the show. I really like that, and it is a staple of basketball on TNT. I think it'd be something great for AEW to bring to their product as well.
I'm not opposed to it. But I will say I did really like how they just got right into the show. There was very little opening anything. You got right into the promo to set up the first match. It had more of a UFC feel to it for me, and I like that. I'm not opposed to the other what you're saying with more of a setup, but I think in this case maybe depending on where you are and what's going on, you alternate, and that's I think the key with Tony Khan being such a huge fan, and Cody and whatnot, they're going to be flexible as opposed to the rigidity of the WWE. So, as always, guys, thanks for checking us out. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, or hit the bells and whistles, super kick that shit.
Yeah, and
we need your support.
If you want to see that video we mentioned about how WWE's like WCW 2000, that's to the left of Travis here on your screen. So be sure to check that out.
Right about here, right, Bob?
No, a little left. There you go.
Right here. Okay, right here.
That way. Yes.
There we go.
Yeah, there
fantastic.
You go. Yep. So check that out, and we will see you here sometime again soon.
Boom.
Boom. Gonna too sweet the bell.
Too sweet.
Icon. Get out of here.
Hit the button.
Hit the button.
Boom.